Hi, I'm Mr. Krason, and welcome to Global Issues. This is my 12th year teaching and my second year here at Stagg High School. I couldn't be more grateful and more proud to be here in the district that I grew up in, and I couldn't be more grateful and proud to be teaching the students I have this year. One assignment that students are working on for my class is a virtual locker. And since we don't have physical lockers right now, since students are not physically with us in the room, I figured we'd have a virtual locker. So in the virtual locker assignment, students had to include a couple things about them that reveal a little bit about who they are. So in my virtual locker, I have a guitar and a ukulele, because I do like to play music and actually do play guitar and ukulele a little bit. I'm lucky to be a dad of 2. I have a son who's turning 4 very soon, named Dennis, and I have a daughter named Noelle. She's turning 2 in February. I have a DePaul sweatshirt, and that's actually my undergraduate college. So my undergraduate degree was at DePaul for social science and political science under secondary education. So I did go on to obtain 2 more degrees. My first master's degree was at Olivet Nazarene University, and it was to become a reading specialist. I chose that master's because just a few years into teaching social studies, I further realized that to be successful in social studies, you have to be a strong reader. Literacy skills are so central to success in social studies. Being able to read primary sources, secondary sources, compare them, contrast them, make arguments based on them, that is really high level literacy skill that I felt a master's in reading would really help. And it did, it really did. My second master's was in curriculum and instruction, which really made sure that I was up to date with best teaching practices and really solidifying a core of backwards design where we're working from assessments and learning targets and making sure that we're teaching to those learning targets on a daily basis and having a very clear end goal of where we want to be. At the very core of the Global Issues curriculum is the idea of empathy. We want students to become better global citizens, and that happens largely through caring about the plight of others. So we'll learn stories of challenges that people have to face here and around the world. And we'll set our hearts on trying to really understand those challenges and to try to develop solutions and to be part of the solution to many of these global issues. The course is built around 8 different units covering 8 different global issues. Each global issue is connected to a historical grounding point in the past that connects to that modern version of that issue. So Unit 1 is resource scarcity, and the historical grounding point is the agricultural revolution. So Unit 1 is going to be about resources that are hard to come by and what governments and societies do to help access these resources for their people. The agricultural revolution is the historical grounding point because it goes back to when farming first starts and the necessity of water to help farming be possible. So river valley civilizations are looked at, and we look at Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus people, and China to see how they centered themselves around rivers in order to sustain development in their civilizations. Unit 2 is cultural development and exchange. So we look at different cultures and what is culture. So we define culture, we look at what happens when cultures mix and interact, and we look at how cultures spread. So cultural diffusion. The modern phenomenon of globalization is looked at more closely, and we study how even things like businesses and trade interactions spread culture. The historical grounding point for this unit is looking back at the Columbian Exchange. So going back to when Europeans contact with the Americans for the first time, the native indigenous people of America, and start trading in the Columbian Exchange. Unit 3 is migration. So we're looking at the global issue of like refugee crises and why people leave areas to seek refuge in other locations around the world. So basically push and pull factors of migration. What are they? Why do they happen? Why do people move? How does migration affect their lives? Which factors are the most important to motivate people to move? Unit 4 is climate change. It's technology and its interaction with environment. So we're going to look at a historical grounding point of the industrialization and urbanization of the world and how that has impacted the environment we live in. So how do people use the environment? How do we try to sustain the environment so we're not using it up too quickly? And how do we look for renewable energies and things like that that can help keep the environment healthier longer? So how does human activity affect the environment? And that's actually the end of semester 1. Semester 2, with unit 5, we'll start looking at human population. So what are population challenges? Things like disease, for example, will be looked at. And that's incredibly relevant in the time we're living in now, especially. So we look at epidemics, we look at things that happen with overpopulation. Why does overpopulation exist, and how does it affect us? Unit 6 is uneven economic development. So we ask questions like, why does inequality exist? Why are some countries resource rich, yet economically poor? Unit 7 centers around conflict. So we look at things like the conflict in Syria, the civil war in Syria that led to refugee crises. We look at South China Sea and how there's a territorial boundary issue. We look at India and Pakistan. We look at a lot of different modern conflicts, and it actually changes. So it can change if there's a new conflict that's becoming more prevalent. We'll look at that. It's really about relevance of the conflicts. In Unit 7, we try to stay updated with what's going on in the world at that time. The historical grounding point is World War II. So we look at things like the Treaty of Versailles and how that set up World War II to happen by making things hard on Germany after World War I and making it very difficult for them to economically recover, that being one of the many factors that leads to Germany looking to leadership that is going to get them back on their feet and looking to the wrong person for that. The final unit is human rights. So the question there is, what are human rights? What should the role of government be in protecting human rights? And are the rights of the individual more important than the rights of the many? In the remote learning setting, it's really important that students exercise respect towards each other and etiquette in all situations. It's easy to say things online that in person, it would be almost impossible to say to someone. So always be courteous and respectful to your classmates. When entering a Google Meet, please make sure that your microphone is set to off, just because when we're starting class, sometimes it can be distracting if students arrive with their mics on, and that might interrupt the instruction that's being given at that point if they're entering late, or just a conversation that's being had between teacher and student about a work or whatever it might be. I also ask that students keep on their video cameras during class. For attendance purposes, it's really helpful, and it's also helpful to be able to make a connection with the student and be able to see them eye to eye and actually have a conversation. Talking to a blank screen that the camera's off is difficult to form connections with. So please keep cameras on during class, if you're remote. When it came to organization before, I used to require keeping a binder. Now during remote learning and just in a digital age, I've transferred over to using just digital everything at the moment. So we are using Canvas as our learning management system, and all assignments have been posted in Canvas, as well as the agendas of what we're doing on a daily basis. So as far as organization is concerned, everything is on Canvas, and students are turning in their assignments through Canvas. Homework expectations are that homework is due and must be turned in by or before the time of the next class period. So if the class period is at 10 a.m., the next day before 10 a.m., that assignment has to be turned in. If a student is late turning in an assignment, in Skyward, I will be entering a 0 for it in a missing assignment, just to be able to notify them that the assignment is in fact missing. So that is nothing to panic at this time about. I am allowing late work to be turned in. If it is within the week, I am accepting it at full credit. If it is late by a week, I am removing partial credit from that assignment. So at this time, I feel it's really important to remain flexible at the beginning of the year here. If a student is absent, all assignments are posted on Canvas. So you can go to the date in modules, look for that assignment, look for that day, and be able to find all the assignments and the agenda of what we worked on that day. So if a student is absent, I'd expect that not by the very next day, but at least by the day after that, students would have in their work for that missing day. If there's a test or a quiz that was assigned, if a student is absent the day of the test or quiz, it's still expected to be able to take that test or quiz the day they come back from that absence. There's always exceptions, and please do feel really free and comfortable to email me with any of those special requests or circumstances. I do really pay attention to special requests, and I do really try to make sure I'm being as fair and helpful as I possibly can. Skyward is the main place to check for grades. So although I use Canvas as a learning management system to collect papers, I do post all grades into Skyward instead for official purposes. So if you want to check the most updated grade, Skyward would be the place to go. If a student is having difficulties during the 8 o'clock to 9:30 hours on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, I can make myself available to assist through video chats whenever needed. So there are exceptions to that where there may be meetings or special meetings with parents during different hours, or even with other colleagues, especially on Wednesdays. But on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, during that time period from 8 to 9:30, time can be arranged where I can help and walk a student through a quiz or through special support that they might request or need. At this time, to request extra help, really just sending an email to me at pkrason@d230.org is enough to be able to request having extra support or help, or even just for a question that a student might have on an assignment that night. So emailing me is the quickest way to get to me and to be able to ask for support. You can also call. My phone number here at STAG is 708-974-7400, extension 7292. So again, it's extension 7292. I also have social media accounts that you could follow things we're doing in class, or just little photos and quotes and things like that I feel inspired by and send out. My Twitter is at the handle at Mr. Krason, so at MrKrason. I also have a YouTube channel that doesn't have too much on it, but some helpful videos and playlists are saved on there for students to check for enrichment, or just out of curiosity if they want to know more about a specific unit. I have videos that are organized for their viewing pleasure. That YouTube channel is available at Krason, so Krason is that YouTube channel's handle, or I guess the channel's name. Okay, so let's go on a little tour of the classroom. The 25% return to school, stage 2 model of return to school is going to be starting, I believe, to be very, very soon. And when students arrive in the classroom, they're going to notice that their desks are spaced 6 feet or more from each other. And they of course have to continue to wear a mask at all times in the school building, but the seats are also going to be distanced, as you can see. During this 25% stage 2 return to school model, for me, that means about 9 to 13 students will be present in the classroom at any one time. Everybody else would be logging in on Google Meets and joining us remotely, just as they have for the past few weeks. So in conclusion, this is going to be a challenging year, yes, but it's also going to be filled with many celebrations, many victories, many incredible memories, many amazing moments, many accomplishments, and just all around, it's going to be a great year. So I want to assure students that we're doing everything we can to make it a great year, and that we can't wait to have you back. And it means so much to be in this role right now, to be there for you and support you through this time, this class, and this school year. So go Chargers, forever orange and blue. We got this, you got this. So welcome to the 2020-2021 school year here at Stagg High School. We're so happy to have you, and you're gonna do great.